They've been called creepy, kooky, mysterious, and spooky. The Addams Family. They have survived almost a century of incarnations, from the newspaper cartoon to sitcoms, films at latest season of Wednesday for Netflix. What started as a cartoon satire of American picture-perfect nuclear family turned into the ultimate symbol for outsiders. In this video, I want to explore why does the rise of popularity of Addams Family always seems to coincide with the rise of cultural nonconformity, and how their dark living family dynamic made them so unique, and why the newest reincarnation feels not very Addams-like. To me, I see it as a larger theme of YAS-ification of outsidership, where weird stops being social critique and instead becomes just another mainstream aesthetic. And the real question is, what do we lose when weirdness is marketed as cool? Addams Family became a scene in 1938 when the cartoonist Charles Addams, from them they got their name, started painting them as comics for The New Yorker. At first, the characters did not even have names, but were spooky, gothic, and quirky household. Already at the origins, Addams Family was a satire of American middle-class conformity and ideal nuclear family. Then, in the 1960s, the Addams Family were brought to life and got their names as they became a sitcom.
They're creepy and they're kooky, mysterious and spooky. They're all together ooky, the Addams Family.
Unlike other family sitcoms of the time, Addams Family lived in a mansion, their kids played with guillotines instead of toys, and parents were actually loving and supporting towards their kids and towards each other. Quirky but harmless, spooky neighbors Addams were perfect criticism of an era obsessed with suburban conformity. As you might imagine, when something becomes acceptable, let alone popular, especially in pop culture, it never happens on its own or in a vacuum. The Addams Family has coincided with the times when subcultures and nonconformity were on the rise.
Young people turned to gangs to give them a visible cultural identity. Mods and rockers were born.
In the 1960s, it was a decade when many new subcultures movements came to be, such as mods and rockers in the UK, beatniks and hippies in the US, and many other student protests in Europe and civil rights movements in the US. Therefore, that incline to nonconformity in a form of satire of the cookie-cutter American dream would perfectly fit with the 1960s growing counterculture.
Well, she's been such a good child lately. I thought I'd buy her a few fresh dynamite caps. Just a few.
Then came the 90s and my favorite version of Addams Family together with it. 90s was also an era of the revival of the goth aesthetic and the subcultures like grunge or alternative subcultures. And therefore, it's no wonder that Addams' goth aesthetic fit into the era perfectly. It's also the first time Wednesday character became more prominent, becoming a role model for misfit teens, that's obsessed, sarcastic, but weirdly relatable.
Wednesday's at that very special age when a girl has only one thing on her mind. Boys. Homicide.
The satire also has sharpened in the 90s movie. My favorite moment is the Addams Family values was when Wednesday calls out the sanitized Thanksgiving story, openly mocking colonialism and America's mythology on Pilgrim and Indians.
The gods of my tribe have spoken. They have said, do not trust the pilgrims, especially Sarah Miller.
In a decade that was beginning to re-examine its history from marginalized perspectives, this scene made the Addams kids not just weird, but the political outsiders who exposed the hypocrisy of the normal culture. As the time writes, no matter the time period in which they are portrayed, members of the Addams Family have always been viewed as outsiders. To the neighbors, they're creepy and they're kooky, they sound funny, they dress oddly, they eat strange foods. They're a perfect allegory for immigrant families. But at the core, the message stayed the same, that even if the outside world would see them as freaks, Addams Family would always support each other and love each other. And even like Mortricia and the Gomez relationship from the 90s movie is still portrayed as one of the role models of any relationship, which I think speak volumes of how high some people hold Addams Family and their affection towards each other.
Don't torture yourself, Gomez. That's my job.
No, Tish.
If you haven't done so, please don't forget to like and subscribe. In 2022, we got a new resurrection of Addams Family, Wednesday, the most watched Netflix show with 252 million views. And that's when the Addams family started being unrecognizable. Instead of following Addams family narrative as a family against the world, the writers decided to focus on Wednesday as an individual outsider in her new school Nevermore. They just followed the classic young adult template: high school drama, love triangle, monsters, mystery plot, which all became more like Riverdale or Sabrina. And then the whole family dynamic started to crumble. Addams was always about supporting each other, and then Wednesday and her mom, Mortricia, did not seem eye to eye whatsoever, which even became like a plot twist as they need to start getting along better, which is very unusual for Addams family. The same for Gomez and Mortricia dynamic. Even when they had affection towards each other in season 1, it almost felt it was done for annoying Wednesday and showing how annoyed she is with her parents instead of showing how affectionate they are towards each other. And in season 2, it just seemed kind of lost altogether. Or the fact that they are covering 2 murders and also hiding it from Wednesday seems like very unnatural for Addams family, because they would be literally having anniversaries of those murders because they would be proud that they killed somebody, considering how morbid Addams family is. This whole outsider family versus normies dynamic became Wednesday in their school versus normies, or personal angst and high school drama. And then there's this whole like superpower magic part of it that was added to Wednesday. And don't come at me because it's just my personal opinion, but I feel like added superpowers magic takes away from the Addams family magic and just makes it feel like another franchise with superpowers. The authors in their interview recently said that there is no lore mythology to the Addams family, and we have ability to create it for this version in this world. No lore mythology? Like, excuse me? In Addams family? It feels for me like this whole magical creatures and powers were added for more sellability and creating a certain aesthetic, while the Addams family were always macabre and spooky, but based on their humor and exaggerated personalities and not on the magical plot devices. And that is, for me, is the YAS-ification of the outsiderhood. Let's take Wednesday as an example. She is quirky and witty, into sadism, kind of outsider, but also popular. If the 19th Wednesday was still cool, she was an outsider. As someone who used to be somewhat an outsider at school, I know that it can come with occasional bullying, but also at least ostracization and feeling of loneliness and depression. While the Wednesday is Wednesday portrayed as the famous girl who everyone either fall in love with or follows or wants to be friends with. And second season, she literally becomes a celebrity who gets stalkers who buy her coffee. That is like not relatable at all for many people, let alone people who feel like outcasts.
The whole tragic loner goth girl aesthetic.
The Addams family spoke to the rejection of normalcy as at most fundamental level and often used satire to power its comedy.
What do we say?
Now.
It was an alternative to the mundane expectation of the world, and this fundamentally missing for me in Wednesday. The main satire of Addams family was always about being more loving and supporting, therefore functional, despite being portrayed as dysfunctional and weird. I know that some of you might be interested in the tea on the Wednesday second season, so here is my somewhat of a review. They have done some work and gotten the feedback from the fans from the previous season, like they have improved on the family dynamics, the families together in a way, but it's very obvious that writers still focus on the other relationship, like Enid's and Wednesday friendship. I felt like the plot was really lost in the middle of the season. First, it was about the one villain, Avian with the birds. And after that, there was another villain, but there was also like a hide. And I didn't feel like there was so much suspense. At the same time, this villain, Avian, she got completely discarded and lost. And we don't see or hear her, and she disappears for me. The storyline was overloaded. There was a lot of plot lines that was happening that I still wasn't sure why they were happening. Bianca and her mom, for example, or the director's story felt a bit like almost every character had their own subplot. And while it was all happening at school, I didn't get the school part as much. Why they never going to classes? Or what is happening with that normies battle? why would normies battle the outcasts who can become literal werewolves? Like, I don't know. Yeah, but at the same time, the Lady Gaga cameo was really great. I did appreciate that they did not do the whole love triangle situation further. They did try at least to bring Addams Family closer together. So maybe, just maybe we're gonna get it even more in season 3. Okay, thank you for watching. Bye.